I want to start by first thanking everybody for all the work that you've already put in this season. Thank you for being on this call, but I know that it takes a lot of work to get your first LEGO League team going, get everybody organized, get all of your team members in the right direction. So I just really want to say thank you from Virginia DC First LEGO League for all the work, volunteer hours that you put in for a successful season. Today on the call, we have myself, Nitsky. I am the Assistant Director of Virginia DC First LEGO League. We also have Scott Rakestraw, who's our Head Judge Advisor for Virginia DC First LEGO League. And we also have Karen Berger on the call as well. She's our Regional Tournament Coordinator. One person we don't have on the call tonight is Steve Scher. He is Head Referee and Decider-in-Chief. So when we do get to the robot game portion, if there's something that we can't answer because we need to defer to Steve on that, then we will table it and put it back out on the website and listserv, just to make sure we're disseminating the right information. So in the next hour, again, we want to use the chat and the Q&A feature as a way to take questions, but if we have some time at the end, we want to make sure that everybody walks away feeling really good about the tournament season and feeling prepared and knowing what's about to happen. So today we will talk a lot about tournament overview. We'll talk about some tournament logistics, some judging, especially some big changes that have been made to the judging arena and the Virginia DC region. We'll talk about robot games, scoring, and awards. And then we'll do a quick review of the missions at the end. But at this part in the season, many of you have already seen what the missions are and are well into that. What's new for this City Shaper season? On this webinar, we're going to talk about a little bit about the formula for advancement. So from regional tournaments, how do people advance for Champions Award and to our state championship? There are also some rubric updates that we'll maybe not take a look at, but we'll tell you where you can find those at. There is a new design layout, and then there's some different wording to the core values and robot design rubrics. Many of you have seen the team meeting guides and engineering notebooks. Please know there's a lot of important information, but this is not a requirement for teams. It could be a great resource to bring into judging rooms. It could really point teams in the right direction, but teams will not be marked down for not bringing it the day of a tournament. Slight change, the research project or project is now called the Innovation Project. And there are some robot game updates, including a new mat size. There's a new robot and equipment, and it is now open software, meaning that all First LEGO League teams can use any software that allows the robot to move autonomously, meaning that it just moves on its own. So we're still not using Bluetooth connectors and things like that, but you're able to use other types of software other than the EV3 LEGO platform. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our regional tournament coordinator, Karen Berger.
Hey, everyone. So I'm going to be talking just a little bit about the tournament itself and how it's going to be laid out. We'll talk about the practice robot game run. Everybody at a tournament will have at least one practice run, and in our tournament, pretty much everybody in the state has just one. You'll then have 3 scoring robot game runs. The only difference between these 3 and the practice are that the practice scores don't count. Other than that, it will be treated exactly the same as any of the scoring ones. Again, you'll have at least 3 of these. A couple of our tournaments may have a 4th robot run. That's perfectly fine if some of them do. We'll be looking for your top score of those 3 to 4 matches. And then you're going to have 3 judging sessions, and they're going to be potentially spread out through the day. They might be grouped together. It depends on each tournament, lays out their schedule a little bit differently. But your team will go to a robot design judging session, a core values judging session, and an innovation project judging session. Each of these sessions will be 10 minutes long, and then we'll kind of go through, when we get to the judging session, Scott will talk about what to expect in each of those. Okay, now you can go to the next slide. There we go. So As you check in at the tournament, we are going to be looking for a couple things at the registration desk, and these things are very important. The first thing that we're going to probably be asking you for is your team information sheet. And there are links to this on the websites for the tournaments themselves, as well as on the main website. We have both a Word and a PDF version of it. We're going to ask that you bring 4 copies of it. And the reason you need 4 copies, one will go to each of your judging rooms. This helps the judges identify teams, remember teams. They can write down interesting facts that they heard the team talk about. It's just a great resource for the judges. The 4th one we're going to actually keep at the registration desk. And the most important thing for the registration desk version is that you have all of your team members listed on it, because we're then going to use that to make sure that we have consent forms for everybody. So in the past, most teams have done the paper printed out version. You are still more than welcome to do that version. But many of you have started using the online student registration through TIMS, where the parents can sign off on it online. If you choose to do that, all you need to do is bring the printed out roster that shows the check marks for all the kids who had theirs done online. And if some of them didn't, that's fine. You can bring paper versions for them. You're welcome to bring a mix of the paper and print out versions. We also need these for coaches and mentors. But for parents or siblings, anything like that, we do not need them. It's only for official team members. Okay. When you get to your tournament, every team's going to have some kind of pit area. And these areas may differ depending on what kind of site you're at, what their layout is. But in general, it's going to be kind of a nice place for your team to set up a home base for them. You can relax in between matches there. You can work on programming your robot, doing any kind of repairs or improvements that you want to do. If your team has a trifold for instance, their project or their core values, you're absolutely welcome to display it there. It's a great way to encourage other teams to come and talk to you. Most pit areas will allow food in terms of snacks and waters and lunch. Some of them may not. In that case, the tournament directors will notify you ahead of time where you can and can't have food. It's not a bad idea for any coaches who know they're going to want to sit down to maybe bring their own chairs. Most sites will try to provide as many chairs as they can, but it never hurts to have a couple extra just in case. Some tournament sites will have robot charging actually at your pit table. A number of us, we just can't run that many extension cords all over the floor wherever we are, so we may have charging stations set up, for instance, around the outskirts of the pit area. If you do need to charge up a computer or a robot during the day, we completely understand. This is really just kind of your area to relax and get ready for matches and judging throughout the day. So in terms of tournament schedules, and I've already gotten a lot of questions from teams about this since we released the assignments yesterday. Coming up pretty soon, so probably towards the end of this month, you're going to get a welcome email from your tournament director. This is going to have just general schedule information. It's going to tell you approximately when registration will be, kind of when we expect the tournament to end. You probably should not expect any kind of detailed schedule until at best a week before your tournament, and it may not even be up until the day of your tournament. Your team should probably just go ahead and plan on being there for the entire duration of the event. And these schedules are potentially subject to change. If we have a team drop out, for instance, the tournament director sometimes will try to redo the schedule to make it a little better for everybody else. So plan on being there the entire time. But when you show up at your tournament, and hopefully about a week ahead of time, you'll get a detailed schedule. A lot of them will look like the ones you see on the screen here. These will give you information on exactly when your team is expected to be in each particular area. So that bottom section is the most important section for you guys. Although the top does have some important things like when the coaches meeting will be, for instance. It's really important that you guys have somebody who's making sure that you guys are on time for any kind of events that you're supposed to be at. So for instance, this team has a practice match at 10 o'clock a.m. on the red table. You're going to want to make sure that you're there at least probably 5 to 10 minutes before that, and the tournament director will give you information on how early to be when you're in the coaches meeting. Some sites that are a little bit more spread out might want you there 10 minutes early. The more compact sites might be fine with only 5 minutes early. But this will have the detailed information for your team in particular.
All right, and now we're going to turn it over. Thank you, Karen. Now we're going to turn it over to our judge advisor, Scott Rakestraw, who's going to talk a little bit more about what each of those judging sessions is going to look like.
Thanks everyone for volunteering and coaching this year. You're definitely making a difference. The key thing that to keep in mind when you go into judging sessions that all team members must participate. It's not okay to have 2 team members hang back and work on the robot. All members that are present at the tournament should participate. If not all your team members can make a tournament, that's okay. Like if you have someone sick or someone has an obligation, we only mean the members that are at the tournament must participate. As Karen mentioned, bring your team information sheet. That's very important to the judges. The picture helps when you see 12 teams in a day. The information sheet in the picture is very helpful. There are 3 judging sessions. Each is robot design, project innovation, and core values. Each session is 10 minutes long. And in Virginia, DC, we allow up to 3 non-team members. Typically that is coaches, historian. A historian is someone that is videotaping or taking photos of the team. As in those roles, you're not allowed to engage or interact with the team at all. We will have a designated area for you to set. Typically it's behind the team. So as the team gets questions, they're not they don't get prompted to look back at you to get the answer kind of thing. So we try to keep you kind of hidden from their eyesight so that we're focused on them. Each session is 10 minutes and the time starts when the door shuts. Judged against the rubrics. You can find this on the VADC website and also on the First Lego League site. Each section basically has 4 areas. One is beginning, developing, accomplished, and exemplary. So as you're preparing for your judging sessions, this is where the questions, you'll get questions around this. And this is if you do your project presentation, these are your guides in how every team is judged consistently across the entire state. It's not a grade or score, so you will not see a number on this. You will get these back at the end of the tournament with the circle of where you exhibited in the judging room, and you'll also get comments, things that you did great and things to think about for improvement. Talking to core values. Core values, the first part is a challenge. It will be about 2 to 3 minutes will be the first part. Then that will be followed by Q&A. In our region, the core values poster is optional. If you do bring or prepare a core values poster per what's in the challenge guide, you will have 1 minute to present it after your team does the challenge, and they can reference back to it during Q&A. I highly recommend it even though it's optional because it's a great prompt for the teams to know to talk about their core values and what they achieved this season. If you're looking for guidelines on the core values poster, again, it's in the materials that were provided by First. It's basically broken into 4 sections. Pictures and so forth work great. Again, it's a great prompt for the team. We will try to have a table for you to put your core values poster on. If not, you're welcome to put it on the floor. And again, you'll have 1 minute to present it. Robot design. If you have been coaching and you're an experienced team, please note that the robot design judging is completely new and different this year. There will not be a mission table or mission set inside the room. You will provided a surface to put your robot and your attachments, and you will not run any robot missions. You will have a laminated printed copy of the mat and a dry erase marker to be able to illustrate what the team missions are. And you can also bring in your robot. You should have a robot conversation guide or a robot executive design summary, something that can just serve as a conversation guide for your team. And the whole point of not running missions and so forth, we want to focus the attention on the team, the design process, and how they tackle the season. So we don't want to focus on the robot. Another part of that is the robot score accounted for in judging. So that really changes the game this year. Robot design again is going to be 10 minutes. You'll have if you look on the VADC website under rules and guidelines, some sample robot conversation guides and also a link to the robot design executive summary. Then that will be followed by Q&A. It's a very collaborative, very back and forth session. Please bring in your information sheet, your robot and attachments, any program samples, and that could be printed or digital. So if you want to share them on an iPad, or if you want to bring in a laptop, fine too. And again, the robot design summary is optional, but we do recommend that you have a conversation guide. And the conversation guide is defined on the Virginia DC First Lego League website. Innovation. This is where you identify a problem with the building or public space in your community. Again, the guidelines for this are very open, so as long as it's related to the theme, that is great. If you do something that's like related to outer space, probably not going to fit this year's theme. How you design the solution and how you share your solution. Again, the rubric defines out everything that the judges are looking for when they evaluate teams. The first part of the innovation project will be a presentation. The teams will have 5 minutes. That includes setup, and time will start when the door shuts. For presentations, you can do a doodle presentation, news stories, puppet skits. We do not provide AV supplies. If we're basically in different classrooms, so if you need power, check with your tournament director or head judge ahead of time to see if you need power. You can also, these presentations must be live. You can't show a recording of something you did. You need to have a live presentation. Part 2 of this will be a Q&A. Again, the Q&A is going to be around things that you may not have covered in your presentation that are detailed on the innovation project rubric. When you come into this, please bring your information sheet along with project presentation materials.
All right, thank you so much, Scott. So I'm going to take over from here, and we're trying our best to keep up with questions, but please know that we don't have our head referee, so if there's something very specific to that, I am going to default to them, and we will be sharing this presentation on the site, and we will be putting it out on the listserv as well, so there's a recording of this, so any questions, the conversation happening will all be posted. So in case people are not there to see, or if you want to show your other coaches or mentors, you'll be able to come back and reference this afterwards. So with the robot game, you can see in this image that you will see a timer. Sometimes this timer will be visible to you, but not always. You will see your referees ready to signal your players. When you come up to the table, you will have approximately a minute to check your sensors, make sure you're ready to go. And then your referees will be giving you the signal, something like 1, 2, 3, Lego. You will sometimes see that a referee will have you will have back-to-back tables. So you'll see the referee standing on either sides. You can have 2 members of the team be at the table. They can switch places during the event, but only 2 at a time can be up there. And as I go through this, Karen, if you do want to chime in anything, please.
Will do.
Absolutely. So with robot scoring, the highest score out of your 3 rounds will be the one that applies to your team. As Karen mentioned before, some places will do 4 robot rounds, and that's okay. But in Virginia DC, you will at least have 3 rounds to try out your missions. So your practice round will not count. Each match is 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And as you can see here, your highest score is the one that will be taken. And we've, in past coaches workshops, questions like what happened with this team right here, the virtual vocabs. Be prepared. Sometimes robots fail, things happen. Really be there ready to amp up your team and let them know they have another try, they've got another go. But at these competitions, things will definitely happen. Linked on the FIRST website and on our Virginia DC First Lego League website is the game guide. I would highly encourage, if you haven't had time to read over this, to read over it. And with that, there are also challenge updates being updated as well. And so this is something that is helpful to check because this will ultimately trump what's here if things need to be clarified. So it is important to check out those challenge updates. And you can find that on the FIRST website, or you can even do a quick FIRST Lego League challenge updates Google search or whatever search engine you use, and you'll be able to see those there. But it is very important to kind of every once in a while check back on some of the challenge updates that will be happening. At during the robot game, you will first see that there will be a spot for the team to stand, and they do need to stay behind the line. You will have 2 people on the team, the 2 starters. You can rotate, but only 2 members of the team are going to be allowed up to the table. Also, please know that spectators are going to be asked to kind of stay back. Some events might have a area. They might have more stadium seating, like in a basketball gym. So it'll look a little bit different at each event, but there will be an area for spectators to be at. Be a referee who needs to move around the table. So it's important that the 2 team members at the table know that. You will have a place to put your trays or carts, but please know that this home area is where we need to be keeping our robot and materials and things for the mission. So if you are going to be bringing up a tub or a cart, your material is going to need to be moved here, and then we'll put the tub or the cart off to the side. That is a different change now with this home inspection area that has been different in past years. And then just making sure that there is room for the referees to move around. This score sheet can also be found on the FIRST Lego League website. So you will notice here that there are no scores. The team will sign at the end of the round. Please notice that a team member will sign and confirm with the referee, not a coach. So the team member will have a chance to look over this. So whatever team members that you're sending up to the table, they may want to look at this beforehand just to have a good idea of what they should be paying attention to, because then they will assign. Once it's signed, it is official, but it does not show a score. There are some unofficial scoring apps out there, and they can be very helpful, but at one of our tournaments, the referee and the teams, this system right here will be what is inevitably used to make these decisions. At this point, we will talk a little bit more about the robot game, but I am going to turn it over to back over to Scott to talk about scoring and advancement.
Cool. So this year, the whole advancement and championship determination scoring system has changed. So the way it works is each team goes into their judging room. After their judging is complete, the teams are ranked on how they performed in that room. We take that ranking along with all 3 rooms, and then we will take the robot score rank divided by how many judging lanes we have. So for example, my tournament at Falls Church, we have 3 judging lanes. 2 of those will be Division 1. So we will divide that by 2. Division 1 and Division 2 are completely separate tournaments. So there's no intermingling of teams. And so basically at the end of the day, the project, all the robot game and judging areas are 25% of the points, and then they're just added up and the lowest score wins. We will first select who is champion, and then we will work our way down for innovation project, core values, and robot design, not in any particular order. Then that also determines which teams advance. Advancements and the number of teams advancing will be announced at your coaches meeting at your tournament. It is proportionally distributed based on the number of teams in Virginia that are at your tournament. That number will be different for Division 1 and Division 2 teams based on the number of teams participating. For regional tournaments, we have what's called a condensed, we have the regular award sections where there's going to be a champion second place champion. You may not always have a second place champion. It depends on the number of teams at your tournament. There will be a robot performance, robot design, project innovation, core values, and judges award. A team can only receive one judges award, but a team can receive a robot performance and a judges award. State championship, we do an expanded awards, and basically we're going to have multiple champions awards, robot performance, and then basically each rubric area gets an award for each judging room.
Right, so at this time, we're going to take a little bit of time to go over some of the mission overviews. And again, if you just hopped on the call, we don't have our head referee, so if there are very specific questions that myself or Karen or Scott can't answer, we will defer to our head ref, and then we'll put this information on the website and the lister. But actually, before I do that, Scott, one question for you that I see popping up. Can a champion win championship without winning an individual category?
Yes.
So thank you for that. Yes, so a team can win the championship award without winning an individual category. For the person who asked that question, great question. So now going back to the mission overview, again, many of you are way deep into this season, so these will be things that you've seen before. And if we can't answer your question, we will make sure that we get it to our head ref and get you an official Virginia DC First Lego League answer. So in the first mission, Elevated Places, the robot needs to support the bridge, and if one or more of the flags are raised in any distance, only by the robot, and that is important. And you can only win points for the flag if the robot is also on the bridge. So that's something when you're thinking of your strategy to be careful and think about. Mission 2, this is the guided mission that at first has really try to walk teams through. So the guided mission was being able to clearly lower this blue building unit down. If it can be independent and supported by another structure, that gets you more points. And if the level 1 is in a blue circle, even more points. So there's a lot of ways that you can earn points through this mission. Mission 3 is the inspection drone, having it hang supported by axle A on the bridge. Mission 4, designed for wildlife. The bat needs to be supported on the branch of the tree. And one thing that our head referee has noticed and mentioned at other coaches' workshops is being able to support blocks throughout the tree is one of the highest scoring missions that you can have because of just the different possibilities. So for the larger branches, that is 10, and for the smaller branch, that is 15. And mission 6 is the traffic jam, being able to lift the traffic jam. It's part moving independent and supported on its own hinges. Mission 7 is releasing the swing for this accessibility challenge. Mission 8 is the elevator, and in a competition, this was updated in the challenge updates. This blue piece will be the piece up here. That's how they should start. So if that's down, that gets you 15. And if you can balance it, that will get you 20 points. Tough challenge, but making sure that this blue block will be starting up at all competitions. Mission 9 is the safety factor. So if the test building is independent and supported by only blue beams, you get points for knocking down each one of those beams. 10, if the steel structure is standing and it's independent and supported by only its hinges, that is where 20. This is something, this mission that is new this season. Your team is asked to bring if you plan on completing this mission, a team design structure. This will be considered part of your equipment. So in that inspection area in the beginning, that will be a part of that. And so if it can be completely in any circle, it's 15, partially 10. And there will most likely be available, but you really should plan on bringing your own built mission or your own built structure to this mission. I see a couple questions popping up. So once I get through these last missions, we'll go ahead and try our best to answer some of these questions that I see popping up. So 12 is a design and build. There are some challenge updates that you might want to look at, talking about what does it mean by supported. So again, I talked earlier about the challenge updates on the first website. They have added a lot of pictures, so it would definitely be worth your time to go take a look at. But these are with these tan, red, and blue building blocks, and being able to place them in the circles and also at a certain height can get you certain amounts of points. And again, there is a lot of clarification on the challenge updates as to what counts and what doesn't. So I would definitely take a look at that. 13 is the sustainability upgrade. So that's being able to add any one of the solar panels, the insulation, or rooftop garden to this, and that's independent and supported by one of your building units. And then the last mission, which is a change from this year, are your precision tokens. So precision tokens are used if you can keep all of them on the field, then you earn more points. As they get taken away, then you lose points, but it won't negatively impact your score like in years past. So I do see a question, which direction should it be fixed, turn from back or turn from front? I will go ahead and answer some of these questions offline. Karen, one thing I think you could help out with, when do the two members, the starters, normally rotate? For example, can team members rotate while the EV3 is returning to base?
So team members are welcome to rotate at any point that they want. So it's entirely up to the team. There is absolutely no reason to need to ask for permission. So we fully expect the teams to make the decisions on when they want to rotate. So it can be while the robot's running, it can be when the robot has stopped. It's entirely up to the team themselves.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. I do see a great question that I may need to check with my head ref on, but will the small inspection area be empty? Thinking about all those building units, they will not be in your way, but I do want to check with my head ref on that before I send that out.
I was going to say, if you want me to go ahead and take this one. So the team is welcome to choose either inspection area that they want to use. In general, we've kind of told the head referees at the tournament to go ahead and stage the parts, all the pieces in the large inspection zone, because we expect most teams will probably try to use the small inspection zone. But whichever one you want to use, if there's stuff in it, just simply slide it out of the way, and that's perfectly fine. So we are planning on the inspection zone is all yours. You do not have to worry about any of the mission models being in there, and if they are, just simply slide them to the other inspection area. Once your robot is inspected, you have the use of the entire home area. So you can then move stuff back into the inspection zones and vice versa as needed.
All right. Another question I see, how many robots are on the field at the same time? Asking based on the text in the bridge mission. So you will only have one robot on your field. There may be, and they've talked about this in the challenge updates, there may be some robot action at the top of the bridge, but the robot from the other side of the other table should not be coming on to your playing field. The only time that those robots might interfere with each other is at the top of the, if the robot starts to come onto your side of the table, then that would be deemed interference. Another question I see, does the robot have to return always to home before the next launch?
You want me to take this one too?
Karen?
Yep, so that is entirely up to the team as well. There is nothing that says the robot has to actually return to home. If your team chooses, they are more than welcome to take the loss of a precision token if it's easier to bring it back. Basically, all the referee is looking for is anytime the robot, the human controllers interact with the robot, so they touch it, they change something on it, anything like that, it will have to restart. And they will make a decision on whether or not they take a precision token based on where the robot was when the team interacted with it. So if the robot does come all the way back to home and then the team interacts with it, there's no loss of a precision token. If the team interacts with it, but it has not come back to home, then there would be a loss of a precision token. But that's, again, it's up to the team, and they can pick their own strategy as they see fit.
And Karen, this other question kind of piggybacks on that. Can the robot return to home or to launch?
So the robot needs to return to home because if you actually read through the rules, it will mention that the only place the teams can physically interact with the robot is as they are getting ready to launch in the launch area. And then when the robot is completely within home, any other time that they physically interact with the robot, there is the potential for loss of a precision token.
Okay. And then, sorry, one more question with that. Attachments, adding or removing attachments, should that be done in home or in the launch area?
So realistically, that can be, it's best to probably do it in the home area, but I, as a referee, probably wouldn't care too much if it's in the launch area either.
Question I see, and again, if Karen, we don't feel good about it, we can check with Steve, but can you keep the models out of home so it's clear for the robot to return after inspection?
So everything, and this is new this year, so this is going to be a big change for a lot of teams. Everything must be stored on the field and it must be stored in the home area. So no, you can't move stuff out of home in order to make room for the robot to return, but you are more than welcome to move stuff around home. So if you know that your robot's going to be coming into the top area of the home, you can slide everything to the southern half of it to get it out of the way. Anything that's in home can be rearranged in any way that your team feels appropriate, as long as it stays within home. But you must store everything in that area. So this year there will not be any side tables or storing stuff on floors or team members holding on to attachments. It all has to be in the home area.
So this is also related. Touching the robot in the launch area, touching it in the home area, touching on the field. When do we lose precision tokens?
So you're going to lose precision tokens anytime you touch the robot that is outside of home, assuming you're not launching. So if you're launching, obviously you need to touch the robot to start it. You know, you have to press the start button. That's perfectly fine. But once you start that robot and once it starts to leave the launch area. So if you press the start button and realize it's not going quite the right way and you stop it before it breaks the plane of the launch area, there would not be a loss. You'd still have to restart, but there would not be a loss of a precision token. But once it's started to exit the launch area, anytime you touch it before it comes completely back to home, there would be a loss of a precision token. If it's in home, there's no loss of precision token ever.
For example, after mission 1, the robot comes back to home, they change an attachment, then the robot has to start from
the launch area
again.
Yep.
Okay. Another question I see, can we touch equipment in home while the robot is out doing a mission?
Absolutely, yes. You are welcome to rearrange stuff and prepare things any way that you see fit if it is something that you have in home area. Assuming it's within the rules. So you obviously can't take apart mission models that aren't supposed to be taken apart and things like that. But if you have attachments that you want to prepare, that you're more than welcome to do that while the robot's out running, as long as you stay within the home area.
The last question I see at the moment is, what constitutes a unit? Are 3 blocks forming an L-shaped piece considered a single unit? The team wasn't sure how the image of tan blocks and the tree would be scored. So I can even go back really quick to see that picture. Assuming that this tan block picture was the one we were talking about. And Karen, you may not, I'm not sure how you feel about answering this, but if it blocks stacked up in a weird way, do you know anything about, or do you have any comments about the scoring of that?
This would probably be a really good one to have Steve, give the official answer on. But I think the big difference here is the definition of a unit versus the definition of a level. And it depends on which mission we're talking about. So for mission 5, it's talking specifically about units. So in my mind, that TAN unit is a single unit. However, if you were talking about levels like we do, and I think it's mission 10, that would be 2 levels. But mission 5 does not mention levels, it mentions units. So let's get a final confirmation from Steve on that, but my understanding is that that would be 1 unit in the TAN piece.
So I see another question about mission 12, but it's also a scoring mission. So I am going to defer to our head referee and get back to the person who asked that. And I have one more follow-up question. Follow-up to a previous question. Can we make the stack ready for mission 12 in the home area while the robot is doing a mission? And I think, Karen, that's what you said, that you're allowed to prepare materials in the home area for the next mission as teams see fit.
Yes, you're perfectly welcome to do that. The one thing you do need to keep in mind, because we had a workshop out here in Hampton Roads this past weekend, and some teams were trying to see how high of a stack they could pre-build and push out of the launch area. There is a roof on the launch area. Robots are not, and anything that they're moving are not to be more than 12 inches high. So you cannot build a 20-inch stack and try to very, very carefully push it out there. But the referee is really just looking for what the ending state is. So as long as it was done in a permissible way, which it doesn't say that that's not permissible, that would be fine. Remember that 12-inch ceiling.
Another interesting question, Karen, can they change attachments in the launch area? We talked about changing them in the home. Can attachments be changed before they launch in the launch area or during the mission in the launch area?
So during a mission, no, because anytime the robot is actively running, if you touch it, even if it's in the launch area, assuming you haven't just launched and it's not, broken out of the launch area yet, that would be interference, and you would lose a precision token. Once you have already had that interference, whether or not you lose a token, so that interference might be out on the field or it might be in the home area and you have to relaunch, then I'm a lot more okay if they need to stretch into the home area to do that attachment change at that point. But it is not considered an active robot at that time. And then they would need to launch as soon as they're ready and do an official start there. But if the robot just returns to the launch area, does a mission and returns to the launch area, and the team touches it there to change an attachment, there would be a loss of a precision token, and they would have to restart the robot.
Another question, if team members are allowed to rotate, are they allowed to bring their own robot up to the table, or should one team have several programs on one robot?
So this is a very important question, especially for some of our newer teams. You are only allowed to bring one robot to the competition table, period. So your robot, there are a couple limitations when you walk up to the competition table. You're allowed to have one controller, so one EV3, for instance, or NXT, whichever version you happen to be using, up to 4 motors, and that's up to 4 motors total. It's not up to 4 motors on the robot at a time. So however you choose to align those motors is up to the team. And you should not be bringing, and then you're allowed certain types of sensors. So make sure you don't have other types of sensors included. You really should not be bringing anything else electronic up to the table. So make sure you're not bringing any iPads or laptop computers that have programming on them. Everything should be able to run without your computer at this point. And you should only be bringing one robot to the table. Your team is more than welcome to use different robots in different matches, but at a single match, they can only use a single robot.
All right. Thank you, Karen, for all of that insight and wisdom. At this time, I don't see any more questions, but I do want to follow up with, if your question wasn't answered here, it's probably because we do need to check with our head referees, Steve Scher, and all of these questions will be typed up with the answer. as I've been recording this session. And then when we release this webinar recording, it'll also have typed up kind of question Q&A to go along with it. So if you need to go back and consult with any or anything like that, we will be able to take care of it. So at this point, I do see one or two more questions come in. We're going to let everyone get their questions in the next 2 to 3 minutes, and we can always take questions to the listserv as well. But another great question, is there a minimum robot game score or rank for advancement?
No.
Nice short answer. So no minimum robot game or score or rank for advancement.
Yeah, it will depend on the scores and ranks of the teams at your individual tournament.
Is this a change from last year?
Yes. There was a 40% threshold last year, which has been removed.
And another great question, will a team face the same team all 3 rounds?
So teams will ideally be facing a different team on every single round that they go up there. And hopefully they'll be playing on different tables. So some tournaments will have only one set of tables. So a team would compete on both sides at some point, not in any particular order. Some tournaments will have 2 sets or even maybe 3 sets of tables. But ideally we will have teams playing on different tables and against different competitors in each of their matches as much as possible. And keep in mind that Division I teams may play against Division II teams on the table, but their scores will be ranked separately. So as Scott said, Division I and Division II are 2 completely separate tournaments. They may meet each other on that competition table, but when we actually rank out the scores against the other teams, it will be only against teams in your division, not the other division.
Quick, Karen, one more question concerning the robots. Did I hear correctly that a team could bring multiple robots to the competition, then use a different robot for every match?
They are more than welcome to do that as long as they come to each individual match with no more than 1 robot.
Rookie coach question, will color sensors work the same irrespective of light in my basement and at a tournament place?
So I have not I've never coached a team, but I can tell you from watching teams, it is highly dependent on how the team does their sensors. I think there was a discussion on the listserv a couple weeks ago about shielding sensors. You should not assume that the lighting in a basement or a school or anything like that will be the same as the lighting at your event, and that the lighting at your event may even change throughout the day, especially those of us who use gymnasiums that have windows that may get sunlight differently throughout the day. So my suggestion would be to try to shield your sensor as much as possible to try to reduce the impact of external lighting.
And then another tip from one of our awesome coaches, Kathy and Roanoke. Teams can test that also by hauling in a flashlight and just testing it when you get there. So you've got a couple of suggestions, pieces of advice on that one. Another question that came in, will the coach in the innovation project, will the coach be in the innovation project judging room? Only the team? Will other audience be watching the happenings in the judging room?
So we allow 3 non-team members into each judging room. And that can include an historian who is videotaping or taking photos of the team. We'll just have all those non-team members will be behind the team.
And in this case, coaches, we're considering those non-team members. So we're looking at 3, either coaches, mentors, or historian to be in there, up to. Your team is more than welcome to send no adults in. That's entirely up to the team, but it will be no more than 3 adults.
And there will be no audience like in the robot game. It'll just be the judges, the team members, and if they want those 3 observers, but there will be no audience like there would be for the robot game. It'll be a quieter judging session. That was just another question that came up. So really quickly, Yes, and even in the other judging rooms, it'll be the same thing where it is the team, their whatever 3 adults if they choose to bring them in there, and the judges. There will be no audience for the judging rooms, only for the robot game.
It happens at all tournaments. Teams forget to bring in their information sheet. It's okay. Don't panic. Just drop it by when you get a chance. It's not going to penalize your team if we don't have your information sheet.
Question that did come up that I have seen come up, and then we will go ahead and start to wrap this up. If scoring is at the end of the 2.5 minutes, if Division 2 and Division 1 compete against each other, how fair is the scoring for Mission 1, the robot bridge mission, if Division 2 team knocks a Division 1 team from the bridge?
So I can tell folks from tons of experience with this, we see almost no difference in scores between Division 1 and Division 2. So I would not expect to see a huge issue with the Division 2 robots knocking the Division 1 robots off more often. I think it'll probably be pretty much 50-50. I think there will be plenty of Division 1 robots that will be stronger than Division 2 robots. There's also no guarantee that every team is even going to do this mission. So I think there will be probably a significant number of matches where either one or none of the robots actually complete the mission, or at least go to the center of the platform. Some of the robots may just go onto the ramp portion of the bridge. So at this point, we are not looking to separate the divisions because we're not expecting to see any single division cause more than the other division in terms of beating the other ones to that ramp. But that's also why we rotate around who you will play in each match, to make sure that you're not stuck playing against the same potentially large, heavy robot every single match. We want to randomize that to make it fairer.
Again, one more question. Supported by the ramp then counts not just at the top. I might a question about the wording of that, but I will take that to our head judge and get back with you about that question about the ramp for the person who asked that. At this point, I do want to take the last couple minutes just to show you a resource. And I'm not exactly sure how this will look on everyone's screen, so hopefully I get this right. Let's see if I can. One resource I did want to show everybody, under Team Resources, Lego League, VADC rules and guidelines, we are updating these. Even after taking some of these questions, we might go back. So we're letting people know where some of these things are. And so this is a really helpful place to find the team information sheet, the consent and release form. Scott talked a little bit about the robot design conversation guide. We've even linked a helpful resource from the team meeting guide if you hadn't seen it yet. And we will be trying to update this as questions come in. So this is a good place to look. Also, another place that's really helpful is on the FIRST website. These were the challenge updates that I was mentioning. The last update was made on October 7th, so just a little over a week ago. So this is something that as we are looking, as you're kind of going through the season, you may want to have somebody on your team or a mentor or even a student keep an eye on some of these challenge updates. This is a great place to find information on rubrics and different things, the crane mission. So please use these resources. And if there's something that you don't have, you can send us an email and we will try to find that for you. At this time, again, questions that we weren't able to answer, we will make sure that we get you those answers. And we will be typing everything up and posting it to our website and on the listserv. I really appreciate everybody for coming to this webinar. The first time we've done this. If you have any feedback, please email me. Again, I'm Caitlin Olnitsky. I'm the assistant director. You can also send it to the questions at vadcfll.org, and I will be able to get that information. And if I don't know the answer, I will check with my really awesome team, and they will help us find the answer. I really appreciate everybody coming, and at this time I'm going to stop the recording and end the meeting. Thank you.